Welcome to the Profit Share Mastery Podcast with your hosts, Linda and Press McKissack.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Profit Share Mastery Podcast, where we're focused on building wealth while changing lives. I'm Linda McKissack.
And I'm Press McKissack.
Hey, Press. This is episode number 2 of our new podcast. So how are you doing?
I'm good. We made it through the first one, on to the second. I'm excited.
I am too. So, hey, as we promised in our last episode, why don't you kind of share with, and I love this, Press, because I know there's a lot of agents out there who have children that they don't realize those kids will grow up, and they may, if they create a big enough opportunity, may have something to step into and keep this legacy and this journey going. So why don't you kind of share about your journey being born into a real estate family and watching us grow and profit share and all those things?
Yeah, would love to. If I had to put an overarching theme on sort of the story, I would say it's legacy. And I think that's what I love about that word, Linda, is, we see a lot of successful first generation people, and then the wealth dies after the second generation, right? And so for me, it's been a story of like coming from nothing to something and then taking that and building upon it. So when I was born, I tell everyone I came out of Linda, and they wrapped me up in a KW loincloth and started feeding me Kool-Aid from a bottle. So I was KW born and bred basically from the beginning. Wasn't much of a choice or option, right? Thankfully. And in that journey, I got to see my family go from $600,000 in debt to where they are today, which is financial freedom. I tell everyone, you guys could go live on a beach in Fiji. And I'm sure some days you guys want to do that. But yet you guys wake up every day and show up and love helping real estate agents. And that always inspires me. So, growing up, I watched, being the youngest of 4. I'm actually the baby by a lot. So I'm 7 years younger than my sister. And so I'm the youngest by quite a bit. And going through that, I got to see a lot of choices being made. And I got to watch Linda and Jim's life transform by the company that they were in, and watch them focus on building wealth and building profit share. And I grew up with a friend of mine named Nick, and Nick's been my friend since we were, what, Linda, 3
years old, exactly.
And we grew up together, and Linda was always very inspiring about helping us think big. And she was always putting books in our hands, or she had this tricky little trick that she would do. She'd invite successful people over, and she would tell them, she would come and find me and say, hey, why don't you give me your feedback on this person, or come sit at dinner and ask them a few good questions. And so Linda would set up these situations for me to be in front of people who had a successful life or had a great story to tell. And all of those definitely impacted my upbringing in a big way. And so myself and Nick were the two at like 12 years old who decided we were going to be real estate agents and we were going to get into real estate because we had watched that have a huge impact on Jim and Linda's life. And then, fast forward, graduated high school, went to college at Baylor University, graduated Baylor, and decided to get into real estate instead of going a different path. And in going through that, Nick and I started getting serious about profit share. We looked at what it had done to Jim and Linda. At this point, Linda, you guys you probably had just broken $1 million, I want to say.
Probably.
Roughly. And Nick and I were like, wow, how could we do this? So at the time, our influence was with not productive. I mean, we were not influential to productive agents. I wasn't going to go up to Lance Loken and get him fired up about joining, right? Like that kind of caliber of agent wasn't on my radar, but new people was on my radar. I had my license. And this idea of recruiting new people into the company kind of intrigued me. And I looked up and I saw a few people in the company, Aaron Kaufman, Brent Mitchell, the godfathers of new agent recruiting. We're doing it at a super high level, recruiting over 100 people a year into the company. It was blew our minds. And so we actually set up a call back about 3.5 years ago with Brent. And Brent basically told us what he did. And he showed us the roadmap, and he essentially said that no one, he had talked to people about it, but no one was really doing what he was doing. A few people in his downline were recruiting, but not much. And so Nick and I set out that we were going to actually do it. And so we built a recruiting website. We did exactly what he told us to do. And over the course of 3 years, we've had great success with recruiting new agents. Last year, Nick now does this full time. Last year, Nick recruited 133 people into the company in 2020. So it's been amazing. And so our focus has been on the new agent side. And, at the same time, I've gotten to work with Jim and Linda. And because of what the company has done for them, it's given me a platform to step into. And so I'm forever grateful to GK. And I tell Gary all the time, I'm like, you've got me for the rest of my career, Gary, because you've impacted our family forever.
Yeah, I love that, Press. And, speaking of new agents, one way to do it is through the website like you and Nick are doing, which we got a lot of questions in our first group call. For those people that have actually joined our Profit Share Mastery course that we just rolled out, we do a group call with that group once a month. And there was a lot of questions around that. So there's a lot of people interested in doing that. But I love this one person, Connie. She said, all she does is she reposts the career night into her own Facebook page. And what'd she say? 3 or 4 people?
Yeah, she had 3 people showing up for the most recent one.
Yeah. And so, there's a lot of little things you can do too. And you and I always say, hey, everybody you meet, you should say, you might be good in my business, because then what do they got to ask you? Well, what's your business? Right. And then you have a chance either way for them to either say, oh, I've always wanted to sell real estate, which I wish they said that. They don't. But they will usually say, well, my sister needs to buy a house, or my mom needs to sell her house.
Yeah, well, it's exactly right. And we had another gentleman on the call who said that he was doing circle prospecting for real estate business. And while he was doing that, he was finding people had been, with COVID and everything, people had been laid off. They weren't looking for a different career. And he said he was using that as an opportunity to talk about getting into real estate. So what a great way to add into what we're already doing, which is lead generating for buyers and sellers. Why not ask, have you thought about a career in real estate?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, I forgot about his story. That was a great story. And I always like it because, one of my favorite ways to start a conversation with anyone is a compliment. And, you might be good in my business is a compliment to anyone. And, you and I have asked Uber drivers. We've been in Uber cars before, and the conversation went to, you might be good in our business. And we've done it with waitresses when you and I have been out at restaurants before. So it's really kind of unlimited what you could do. And remember, we were all new agents once too. And there will always be a new influx of new agents. And those could be the next top performing agents or the top profit share earning agents. And you want to make sure they're in your downline.
Yeah, that's right. Linda, one thing I thought would be really helpful on this episode too, we hear a lot of, I think until you get over a few misconceptions or limiting beliefs around profit share, we in the company, I want to say we only have 30-something% of people who've actually built a downline in any level, which honestly, we've talked about that. It's a shame. It should be a lot more than that. And I think one of the main reasons for that, and you and I hear this all the time, is people say, I feel like I'm doing something to someone and not for someone.
Yeah.
Will you talk for a few minutes, Linda, about that misbelief because I feel like until you get over that one, you're never going to pursue profit share in any way.
Yeah, I totally agree. We can't do things that we don't feel good about. And, I love that because one of my greatest ahas around this was when a couple offices from New Jersey asked me to be on their call and talk about profit share. And the OP was very smart. He started the call by asking everyone on there to comment in the chat or to speak up and talk about how the company had changed their lives. And Press, I have to tell you, I got so emotional reading some of the comments and the things that the agents were saying. And I was so moved by it that when I became my turn to talk, I said, all we have to do is look to the chat at all the ways our own lives have been changed. And then ask ourselves, who are we to decide that that's enough lives changed? There wasn't a single person on there that could not tell you in some way that KW had changed their lives. And I thought, wow, if that's not enough conviction for each one of us to want to go out and have significance in the world by changing other people's lives, I don't know what is, or at least giving it the opportunity, Press, because as I always say, we can't make a buyer buy, a seller sell, or an agent join. It's just not possible. But what we can do is build a relationship deep enough, help them with whatever their value gaps are, ask them eventually to take a big step so that they can experience who we are. And then from that experience, they will decide that whatever they want out of their careers and their lives for them and their family can be better served here at KW. And they either will or they won't. And some will, some won't. So what? Some will later, And so that's, you just can't be attached to that, but you at least have to give the effort to be that conduit to someone that could have the opportunity to be the person that says someday, this is how it changed my life. And I ask every single one of them, aren't you grateful for the person who introduced you? And every single person said, absolutely. So we can't be thinking we're doing something to someone. For the right people, we're doing something for, and the ones that don't want to do it, we can't control that anyway.
Yeah, that's right. What I think about a lot is, I think a lot of our agents feel like if they want to pursue profit share, that they have to be a recruiter. And I say that with air quotes. They have to be a recruiter. In fact, that's the opposite of what you should be, right? You should be a relationship builder, not a recruiter. Your job's not to recruit people like you talk about. You really can't make people do what they don't want to do. You're not going to recruit them into something they don't want to do. What you can do, though, is go build relationships, follow your formula, and allow time to do some heavy lifting there, right? And great questions. And they will self-discover if it's the right thing for them. And for some, it won't be, and that's okay. And for a lot, it will be.
And some it won't be now, but it will be later. And so that T part of our formula, the time, is the one that's hardest for most people to accept, because we want people to get it the minute we utter words. And the truth is they get it on their own timing, not ours.
Yeah, that's right. Love it.
So, so any last thoughts? I do want to say, Press, if they were interested and they missed the first round of our Profit Share course, but they want to get in the next time we launch it, what would be a good way for them to find out about that?
Yeah, for sure. If you just go to profitsharemastery.com, you can sign up right there on our website and join us in the course. And that will also get you access to we're doing live group coaching calls monthly. We just had our first one, which was a great first round, and we got our second one coming up. So we'll be excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, and just so people know, they won't end, so you won't ever. I've missed one and now I've only got this many left. They'll actually keep going, so you'll never end. They'll never end. So there isn't I missed two and now I don't get to have those or whatever. You could go back and get the recordings from those, but you won't miss anything because these calls are going to keep going on for forever.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right. So also I would encourage you, if you haven't already, from our first episode, download our Freedom Number worksheet. And you do that by texting to the number 33444, the words Freedom Number, NUMBER, Freedom, FREEDOM, NUMBER, all together as one word. And that'll give you our sheet on how to sit down with your significant other or someone who's important to you. And you guys just think through, what would be a number that if you accomplish that number coming in passively, you could work someday because you wanted to, not because you had to. That's a great place to start, Press, I think, because until we get in touch with that, I don't think we'll treat wealth building through anything very serious. So any final thoughts, Press, you'd want to add? I'm excited to do this podcast. This is, again, episode number 2. It will drop on the 21st of every month, the same day we get our profit share checks. So if you think of anyone that would benefit from this, be sure and pass this podcast link along, and we'd love for you to hit subscribe, and certainly would love to have a review so that more people find our podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, Linda, I just end with just reiterating, building your profit share is about being a relationship builder. It's not about being a recruiter. And until you get over some limiting beliefs, you're never going to give it the time it needs or the focus it needs. So I would just challenge everyone, work on those limiting beliefs before you work on anything else. Before you work on a 411 or a strategy, work on your limiting beliefs first. And then if you need help with those, feel free to email us, info@lindamckisack.com, and let us help you. Let us try to help work through some of those limiting beliefs you have, and we're happy to do that.
Yeah, if you have limiting beliefs or questions or just some comments that you'd love to share, or you'd love to have us to share, be sure and pass them along, and we will take a look at those. And hopefully, if we haven't seen you already, we'll see you somewhere in the future in our Profit Share Mastery course.
All right. See you then.
I'll see you on the 21st.
Bye.